Nick had just poured me a glass of bourbon when he dropped it. I was sitting on this slick leather couch, still smelled new, looking out the floor-to-ceiling windows at the lake. The damn couch alone had cost close to $4,000. I knew because I paid for it, along with the deck, the kitchen remodel, and half the damn down payment. He shifted in the chair across from me, rubbing his hands together like he had a chill. So, Amanda's folks are coming out for Christmas this year, I nodded. Great, I'll make my ribs. They've never had 'em, right? They're gonna love it. Nick didn't answer right away. He stared down into his glass like there was a script floating at the bottom. Amanda was thinking, maybe just her folks this time. A quieter thing. Different kind of tone. I blinked. Different how? He looked up, and I caught the guilt all over his face. Just, they're older. Used to a certain kind of holiday. I let out a short laugh. What the hell does that mean, Nick? He flinched. It's nothing personal. It's just, we thought it might be best to keep it simple this year. You know, more their style. That's when I got it. I wasn't invited. I leaned back and scanned the room. That chandelier hanging above us, $2,000, the custom wood dining table. I wrote the check. Even the damn hardwood floors. We had picked them together, back when he acted like I still mattered. I cleared my throat. So, not even an invite? Nick rubbed his neck. It's not like that. It's exactly like that. From the hallway, I heard Amanda moving around, doors opening and closing, dishes clinking. She wasn't going to come in. She never did when things got uncomfortable. Just floated around like some ghost hostess, always nearby, but never in the line of fire. I stood up slowly. I didn't throw the glass, didn't shout, just stood. Nick looked up at me, eyes wide. He opened his mouth, but nothing came out. I walked to the door, pulled my coat off the hook, paused with my hand on the knob. Tell your in-laws I said happy holidays, I said. My voice didn't crack. It didn't rise. It just landed. Outside, the cold slapped me awake. I got into my truck, shut the door, and sat there for a while. The neighborhood twinkled with white lights and glowing deer. Families inside, setting tables, laughing. I remembered when Nick was small, how he'd yell for me from the tree lot, begging for the biggest one, how we'd drag it home, covered in sap and snow. Back when family meant something. By the time I got home, my fingers were stiff from the cold, and my jaw ached from how hard I'd been clenching it. My house felt even smaller than usual that night. Modest, sure, just a one-story place on the edge of Waukegan, nothing fancy. But it was mine. Paid off, patched up, and quiet. Not like their lakefront showroom, full of granite and stainless steel, and people who never lifted a finger. I kicked off my boots and dropped onto the old recliner. Springs creaked. My ribs still burned a little from that tightness that had built up back at the house. I hadn't said much in the truck, but inside, I was ticking like a bad alternator. Over 5 years, I'd poured more into their life than I ever spent on my own. Down payment on the house. Check. That outdoor grill they bragged about at parties. Me. Groceries when Nick got furloughed. New fridge when Amanda couldn't live with a dented one. Thousands here, thousands there. Like bleeding from a pinhole every damn day. My phone buzzed on the side table. Amanda. Of course it was. I stared at the screen until it went dark. Then it lit up again. I answered, figuring I'd get it over with. Her voice came through sugar-coated, same as always. Hi, just wanted to check in. Nick said you left kind of suddenly. Hope everything's okay. I didn't say anything. She steamrolled right through the silence. So, anyway, we were wondering if you could do us a quick favor. There it was. Our flight plans changed a bit, she went on. My parents are flying into O'Hare now, not Midway. It's going to be a little chaotic that day, so I thought maybe you could pick them up. I finally spoke. Did Nick tell you what he said to me earlier? She laughed. Oh, don't be like that. It's just a holiday. We'll all catch up after the new year. Then her tone shifted, just enough to feel the dig. They just prefer a certain kind of company, you know? The kind that aligns with their expectations. I sat up straighter. What kind of expectations are we talking about? Oh, you know, they're not really comfortable with people from a trades background. It's not personal. They just don't connect well with, well, folks who didn't grow up the same. I let that hang there. She wasn't done. They're very particular about tone and image. They're used to a different crowd, more refined, more composed. I felt the skin on the back of my neck go hot. You mean not working class? Not someone who spent 35 years fixing HVAC units? She chuckled again, like we were sharing a joke. Well, exactly. And your wife, God rest her soul. She understood that balance so well. Always knew how to stay in her lane. My hand clenched the armrest. She didn't even say my wife's name. Just brushed her off like she was some obedient maid. Don't ever speak about my wife again, I said, calm but sharp. Amanda paused. I didn't mean it that way. Yes, you did. I hung up. No yelling, no back and forth. Just done. I sat there a few seconds, staring at the blank wall across from me. My chest wasn't tight anymore. I felt cold, sure, but it was the kind that brought clarity. She wanted a driver, an errand boy, someone to chauffeur her precious parents while staying out of sight like the help, and she thought I'd just take it, smile through it. I stood up, walked into the kitchen, and opened the cabinet above the fridge, pulled down the old metal box I kept there, my just-in-case box. Inside were copies of every major payment I'd made for Nick and Amanda, going back 5 years. I hadn't looked at them in a while. I smiled for the first time that night. They thought they could cut me out, insult my wife, and still use me like I was some aging utility line. Fine. Let's see how they manage without me. I carried the metal box into the dining room and set it on the table like I was unloading evidence in a courtroom. The overhead light was harsh, washing everything in this yellow glow that made the receipts look older than they were. I dragged out every scrap of paper, statements, printed emails, check copies, wire confirmations, 5 years worth. I spread them across the table until I couldn't see the wood anymore. My hands moved fast, muscle memory kicking in from when I used to track expenses during slow seasons. Highlighter in one hand, pen in the other, I started marking every dollar that went their way. First the big ones, down payment on the house, that remodel they bragged about, medical bills during Nick's job gap, then the smaller ones, groceries, utility bills, birthday gifts that were basically rent payments dressed up in wrapping paper. I kept adding it up, then adding again because the number didn't seem real. Over $230,000. I let out a long breath. I felt it in my ribs. That wasn't just money. That was 5 years of skipped dinners because I didn't feel like cooking for one. 5 years of ignoring the busted dishwasher because I could wash plates by hand. 5 years of passing up cabin trips with old coworkers because the price of gas felt like a luxury. All while they played house on the lake like they earned it. My phone buzzed in the living room. I ignored it and kept going. I marked each month I covered their shortfalls. Each time they'd said, just this once. Each time I'd said, don't worry about it. I stacked the papers in one pile, tapped the edges flat, and stared at them. That was my future I'd handed over, my comfort, my time. The version of retirement my wife and I used to talk about when she was still around. Fishing up in Door County, fixing up the backyard. Maybe taking a road trip out west, seeing the mountains again. All of it funneled into their marble countertops and summer boat rentals. I picked up the phone and dialed the bank. A woman answered, polite and robotic. Thanks for calling Lakeshore Credit. How can I help you today? I need to cancel an automatic transfer, I said. Of course. Which account? I gave her the details, listening to her tapping away on a keyboard. Transfer canceled, she said. Anything else? No, I said. That's plenty. When I hung up, the silence in the house felt different. Heavier, but clean. Like something had finally settled. I grabbed the good whiskey from the cabinet, bottle I'd been saving for a holiday I apparently wasn't invited to, and poured myself 2 fingers. The smell alone eased something in my chest. I took the stack of documents to the fireplace, bent down, pulled the screen open. The first page curled fast once it hit the flame, then another, then another. In a minute, the whole pile was turning black and drifting up the chimney in flakes. I stood there until the last corner disappeared. My phone buzzed again, then nonstop. Amanda's name, Nick's name, text after text, lighting up the screen. I didn't read a single one. I turned the phone face down, walked back to the fireplace, and poured myself another drink. The fire popped loud, shooting sparks against the grate. For the first time in years, I wasn't holding anything together for them. I sat down in my chair, felt the heat hit my legs, and let the whiskey settle into my chest while the phone kept buzzing faintly across the room until I finally reached over and powered it off. The next morning, I made myself a strong cup of black tea and sat at the kitchen table with the crossword from the Tribune, phone face down, volume off. Across from me, the spot where my wife used to sit felt less empty than usual, maybe because, for once, I wasn't doing someone else's bidding. I was just sitting, sipping, thinking. Clue 4 across. Lies between us? Answer, secrets, 5 letters, fit like a glove. By 10:30, the buzzing started. I flipped the phone over. 8 missed calls, 2 voicemails, Amanda's name on all of them, then a text. Just checking in. Flight lands in 40 Mini, hope traffic's not too bad. Like I was their Uber driver, like nothing had happened. I took another sip, tore the corner off the paper, and jammed it into the side of the landline base to unplug the cord. Silence. Beautiful. Another text came in. Hey, just wondering if you left already. Then, they just landed. Then, are you on your way, or... I put the phone in the kitchen drawer, shut it, and went back to the crossword. Clue 11 down. Bitter flavor. 4 letters. Answer, spite. Felt appropriate. Evening settled in slow and quiet. I reheated some chili from the freezer and was halfway through a bowl when the pounding started. It wasn't a knock, it was fists, angry, sharp. Someone wanted to be let in. I stood up, walked to the door, and opened it. Amanda was on the porch, hair frizzy, cheeks flushed from the cold. Behind her stood her mom in a long white coat, arms crossed, and her dad, red in the face, breathing hard like he jogged up the driveway. "There you are!" Amanda snapped. "What the hell is wrong with you?" Her mother chimed in. "We waited over an hour at the terminal, with our luggage, in front of everyone." I leaned against the doorframe. "And?" Amanda's dad stepped forward. "You think this is funny? You humiliated us." I didn't answer, just looked at them, standing there like the goddamn royal family, shocked they'd been treated like regular people for once. Amanda's voice got higher. "You agreed to pick them up." "No," I said. "You assumed I would." Her dad jabbed a finger toward me. "You don't understand who you're messing with. I have connections in this town. You'll regret this." I gave him nothing. Not a nod, not a blink. Amanda's mom was muttering behind him, something about calling someone. Maybe a lawyer. Maybe the editor of that crap local magazine she loved to brag about being featured in. Didn't matter. "You gonna say anything?" Amanda barked. "Yeah," I said. "Get off my porch." Her mouth dropped open like she'd been slapped. "You can't be serious," her dad growled. "You think you can just disrespect this family and walk away?" I stepped back and started to close the door. "Don't say I didn't warn you," he yelled as I shut it in his face. The lock clicked behind me. The yelling continued for another minute. More threats, more fake outrage. I stood in the hallway and waited them out. Eventually the noise faded, tires squealed, and the night went still again. They thought they were swinging down at me. Big mistake. They just punched up, and they had no clue what was coming. I didn't hear from any of them for a couple days after the porch showdown. My house stayed quiet the way I liked it. I kept the phone off, read the paper, watched the lake effect clouds roll over the neighborhood. For once, my life felt steady. But on Thursday morning, when I stepped outside to grab the Tribune off the driveway, my stomach tightened. The paper felt different. Thicker in the middle. I flipped it open right there on the cold concrete. Page 3, big headline. Local disturbed senior leaves, visiting couple, stranded at airport. At first, I thought I was reading about someone else. Then I saw the photo, grainy, from a community barbecue last summer. Me in the background carrying a cooler. They'd circled my face in red like I was some criminal. I read the article standing in the driveway, breath turning white in the air. They called me erratic. They called me unreliable. They called me emotionally volatile. A man with a long history of outbursts. All lies. Every damn word. The article said an elderly visiting couple had been abandoned by a relative, forced to navigate the winter weather alone. They made it sound like I'd dumped strangers on the side of the road during a blizzard. Then I saw the quote. "We were worried for our safety," said a source close to the couple. I didn't need a name. I knew exactly whose mouth that came from. Amanda's dad had actually done it, used whatever contacts he bragged about to twist the local paper into a weapon. I folded the paper and walked inside, my teeth grinding so hard my jaw hurt. For a second, I felt that old panic try to claw its way in, the kind that hits when you realize someone is dragging your name through the mud and enjoying it. But panic didn't stick. Anger did. A clean, sharp kind. The kind that kept you focused. I set the paper on the kitchen table, grabbed my laptop, and powered it on. The screen's glow cut through the dim room, and my reflection stared back. Tired eyes, clenched jaw, steady hands. Fine. They wanted war. I opened my email archives first. Every request for just a little help until next month. Every message about unexpected expenses. Every time Amanda said things were tight while posting photos of her new boots online. Then bank statements, downloads going back years, transfers, loan payoffs, checks written directly to contractors for their remodel. All the receipts Amanda said she'd file later, which, of course, she never did. I pulled the metal box off the counter and emptied what was left inside. Old photos slipped out with the papers, me and Nick building a treehouse, my wife holding him on her hip, all of us smiling like nothing could touch us. I pushed the photos aside. This wasn't about nostalgia, this was survival. I laid everything out again across the table, this time in rows. I opened a spreadsheet and started logging the payments one by one. The numbers climbed fast, hitting 6 figures before I even finished the second year. I thought about the article calling me unstable. Unstable people didn't keep this kind of record. Unstable people didn't pay another family's bills for half a decade. Unstable people didn't sit quietly while being used. The only unstable thing in this town was the grip Amanda's dad thought he had on the truth. By the time the sun dipped low behind the backyard oak, I had a folder full of receipts, screenshots, dated messages, and bank logs. Hard proof of everything I'd poured into their glittering, borrowed life. I saved the folder twice, on the desktop and an external drive, then kept going. If they wanted to drag me into the mud, fine. But I was bringing the facts with me. I clicked print and listened to the machine warm up, page after page sliding out, crisp and undeniable. I wasn't done, not by a long shot. The printer was still warm when I sat back down, cracked my knuckles, and pulled out the notebook. I drew a line straight down the center of the page. One side, what I gave. The other, what they did. Then I got to work. Day and night blurred together after that. I barely slept. Ate whatever I could, heat in a microwave. My living room turned into an evidence lab. Papers spread out on every surface. Laptop always open, TV off for once. I pulled every email from Amanda asking for help, worded all sweet and desperate. We really hate to ask, but Nick's just in between gigs. We'll pay you back when we can. I printed them all. Then came the social media posts. That part was easy. Amanda practically documented their whole lifestyle like it was a damn brand. New deck furniture, captioned summer vibes. Right under that, a screenshot of her texting me. Can you spot us for the patio set? It was a great deal. They'd post about buying a new mattress the same week Nick asked me to cover their car insurance. Vacation photos with champagne, toasts a day after they claimed to be behind on utilities. The hypocrisy wasn't even subtle. It was sloppy, arrogant. I went deeper, started looking into Amanda's dad. His name had been bugging me since that article dropped. I searched old charity board listings, gala programs, press releases. Sure enough, found his name linked to the same community media partnership that funded the paper that printed the hit piece on me. Bingo. I screenshot everything, highlighted names, dates, photos, laid it all out in folders labeled by year. By day 3, I had a thick binder in front of me, timeline, receipts, statements, side-by-side comparisons of Amanda's fake online life and their private begging messages to me. It read like a prosecutor's closing argument, but I wasn't done. I went to Amanda's public Christmas Eve dinner invite on Facebook. She listed 12 guests, friends, co-workers, even some extended family, all of them tagged like it was some high society red carpet event. I printed 12 copies of the binder, each one tucked neatly into a black presentation folder. 12 guests, 12 doses of reality. This wasn't about money anymore. They'd tried to erase me, rewrite the story, paint me out to be a crazy old man who couldn't keep it together. And for what? Because I said no for once? Because I stopped being the walking checkbook they counted on? No. This was about truth and dignity. I pulled out the calendar from the drawer and flipped to December, found the 24th, drew a thick red circle around the square. I stared at it for a long moment. Christmas Eve, game time. Christmas Eve rolled in gray and quiet. I shaved clean, combed my hair back, and slipped on the suit I hadn't worn since my wife's funeral. Dark navy, pressed shirt, polished boots. I looked in the mirror and barely recognized the man staring back. Older, yes, but focused. Lined, but steady. I packed the folders in a black leather satchel. 12, perfectly arranged. I made sure the clips were tight, pages aligned, no mistakes. Then I got in the truck and drove. The lake house sat lit up like it was on a movie set. Warm golden glow spilling out from every window. Cars packed along the long driveway. Holiday wreath on the door. A big plastic reindeer out front. Everything looked staged. I didn't knock. I walked straight in. Heads turned fast. The dining table was full. 12 people, just like the invite said. Fancy dishes, tall glasses of wine. Amanda laughing too loud. Nick wearing a damn sweater vest like he was auditioning for a commercial. Conversation died the second I stepped over the threshold. Amanda's voice caught in her throat. "Dad, what are you doing?" I didn't answer. I walked around the table one guest at a time and placed a folder in front of each of them. Smooth, slow, no rush, no words. Just a calm drop of hard truth. The kind you don't see coming until it's already cracked open in your lap. Once the last folder was down, I stepped back. "I'll keep this short," I said. "This house, this furniture, this Christmas dinner, most of it exists because of me." Nick looked down. Amanda's fork stayed frozen midair. Her dad straightened up like he was about to object. I raised my hand. "Don't. You've said enough." I pointed to the first few pages in each folder. Down payment, me. Living room furniture, me. Kitchen remodel, me. 5 years of covering their shortfalls, keeping their lights on, their fridge full, their credit clean, me. I took the newspaper clipping from my inside jacket pocket and laid it flat in the center of the table. Then they repaid me with this. Gasps, real ones. Not polite shock, real confusion. Eyebrows raised, guests shifting in their chairs. One woman leaned forward to read. Another looked straight at Amanda. Amanda's mother muttered something under her breath. I kept going. After I said no to a simple airport pickup, they put this out in the local paper, painted me as some unstable old man. Amanda's father here used his connection with the paper's editor to plant the story. You'll see the emails. I included them. I could feel the whole room freeze. Amanda's dad stood up. "This is a private gathering." "No, this is a public performance. You invited half the damn town to watch you play house. I'm just adding the missing context." Amanda looked around like she couldn't believe this was happening. Her face went pale. Her voice came out high-pitched and shaky. "You're making a scene." "No," I said. "You made the scene. I'm just flipping the lights on." Nick still hadn't spoken, just stared down at the table like it might swallow him. One of the guests, a guy in a blazer, spoke up. "Wait, is this real?" I turned to him. "Every folder's got receipts, dates, emails, text messages. Cross-reference anything you want. The numbers speak louder than they ever did." Another woman at the far end closed her folder gently and pushed her plate aside. She looked sick. Amanda tried to laugh. "You're twisting everything. You don't understand our situation." "No, Amanda," I said. I understood it too well. I just finally decided to stop playing along. Her dad raised his voice. "You think you can humiliate us like this and walk away clean?" I stared at him dead in the eye. "I didn't come here to walk away clean. I came here to walk away honest." I looked around the room one last time, saw the cracks forming, saw judgment start to shift, saw doubt bloom behind polite eyes. Nobody spoke, not Nick, not Amanda, not a single guest. I turned and walked out the front door. No yelling followed me, no footsteps, just silence and the sound of my boots crunching through fresh snow. By the time I got back to my place that night, I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't feel guilty either. I just felt still. That kind of still where your bones stop bracing for the next punch. Over the next few months, they all tried. Amanda was first, left 2 voicemails the morning after Christmas, both with that sing-song voice like she hadn't just been gutted in front of a dozen people. Hey, just wondering if maybe we could chat, clear the air? Then, I think we should handle this like adults, don't you? I deleted both. Then came her parents, emails, a typed letter even, sent in some gold-trimmed envelope like they were royalty sending word from the palace. I didn't read past the salutation. Nick took the longest. I didn't hear from him until mid-January. One text, then two, then a call, then nothing for a while, then more. Every time the phone rang, I let it. I wasn't angry anymore. I was done. My house, for the first time in years, started looking like someone lived in it. I fixed the cracked tiles in the entryway, got the plumbing redone in the upstairs bath, replaced the old screen door that used to slam crooked every time the wind hit it. I bought new sheets, good ones, upgraded the furnace finally, got the gutters cleaned, put in a new freezer and stocked it with steak, not coupons. I was 62, not dead. I could still live well, and I did. The foreclosure letter came early March, thick white envelope, address typed neat. I opened it standing over the sink with my coffee. The notice said they were 3 months behind, house officially entering default. I read it like I was checking the weather. Cold front coming, figures, no anger, no surprise, just math catching up to the fantasy. They weren't built for real life without a safety net. I'd been their net for too long. Now they'd hit the ground. And while their world shrunk, mine opened. People in the neighborhood started waving again. A couple even came up to me at the grocery store, said they saw the real story online. Someone had leaked the dinner folders, probably one of the guests. Word got around. I didn't confirm or deny, just nodded, kept shopping. I started hearing from family I hadn't spoken to in years. A cousin out in Rockford sent a card. My brother's daughter, Kayla, reached out on Facebook, said she and the kids wanted to visit. She called one night and said, "Uncle Rob, we miss you. We're having dinner Friday. Come by. You'll love what the boys made for you." I didn't say yes right away, not because I didn't want to. I just wasn't used to people wanting me there without expecting something. But I texted her back an hour later. "I'll be there." And I meant it. The knock came just after sunset. 3 quick raps, no doorbell. I knew it was him before I even looked. Call it father's instinct, or just the weight of timing, but I felt it in my bones. I opened the door, and there he was, Nick, standing on my porch like a man who hadn't slept in weeks. His coat was cheap and too thin for the cold, cheeks sunken, beard untrimmed. His shoulders slumped like the weight finally landed. "Hey, Dad." I stepped back, not inviting, just giving space. He walked in slow, like the floor might give out under him. We sat across from each other in the living room. No whiskey, no TV, just air between us. He looked around like he didn't recognize the place anymore. Maybe he didn't. "I know I should have come sooner," he said. I didn't speak. He rubbed his palms together, eyes fixed on the floor. "I'm sorry, I mean it. I screwed everything up. I didn't back you, I didn't stand up for you." Still, I said nothing. I let Amanda and her parents twist everything. I went along with it because it was easier. I wanted peace in the house, but I let it cost me more than I thought it would. His voice cracked, and he looked up at me. "They said things about Mom, terrible things. I didn't stop them." There it was, the part he'd buried the deepest, the part I already knew, but needed to hear from his mouth. "What exactly did they say?" I asked. My voice came out steady, not angry, just solid. He swallowed hard. "Amanda's mom said she was common, that she knew her place and stayed quiet, which is why you two worked. Her dad called her the kind of woman who didn't embarrass the room. I should have walked out right then. But you didn't?" He shook his head, ashamed. "I didn't. I kept quiet. I told myself it didn't matter, that you wouldn't find out, that it wasn't worth the fight." I leaned forward. "Let me make something clear. The money's gone, Nick. All of it. I spent it trying to build something solid for you, a future, a foundation. What you did with it, that's on you. I know. And the version of me who would have let it slide, forgiven you in a breath, that version's gone too." He nodded slowly, like it hurt. "I deserve that." I kept my eyes on him. "Forgiveness? That's still on the table. But trust, that you gotta earn. From zero, from scratch." His lip trembled. "I want to. I don't even know where to start." "Start by owning what you gave away." He blinked at me. "You didn't lose your father," I said. "You gave him away." You let people with fancy last names and fragile egos make you forget who raised you, who worked nights in the dead of winter to keep the heat on. You let strangers convince you your own blood was disposable. That cracked something in him. His face twisted up and he broke down right there in front of me, shoulders shaking, fists clenched. The kind of crying a grown man only does when it finally sinks in what he's done. "I'm sorry, Dad. I was stupid. I was weak." "You were," I said. "But I still love you. That's never changed. Doesn't mean you get a clean slate, but it means the door's not locked." He nodded, wiping his eyes. We sat there in the quiet, the kind that only happens when truth's finally laid bare. There wasn't some big hug, no music swelling in the background. Just two men sitting in the same room again, with nothing fake left between them. And for the first time in a long damn time, that was enough. A few weeks later, spring rolled in like it had something to prove. Snow finally melted down to soggy patches in the yard, and the breeze didn't bite anymore. You could smell dirt again. Real earth. The kind that reminded you it was time to get your hands in it. I spent that morning cleaning out the garage, pulled down a bunch of old junk, tossed what didn't matter, reorganized the rest. By the time I finished, my shoulders ached, but the place looked solid. The house felt like mine now, for real. No debts tied to it, no guilt nailed into the walls. The porch light glowed steady again. I replaced the wiring myself. The cracked driveway I used to trip on, leveled and sealed, freezer full of ribeyes, salmon, and homemade chili in labeled Tupperware. I was living like someone who finally put his own name at the top of the list. Around 5:30, I sat on the porch with a glass of whiskey and let the quiet soak in. My phone buzzed, a text from Kayla. "Uncle Rob, the kids made something for you. Dinner tonight? We'll save you a plate." I smiled. Typed back, "Wouldn't miss it. No overthinking, no hesitation, just truth." I tossed on a clean shirt, poured a splash more in my glass, and leaned back in the chair, legs stretched out. Across the street, a couple of neighbors walked by with their dog and waved. I raised my glass in return. They waved back like they meant it, like they saw me now, not the rumor, not the headline, me. The sun started dipping behind the trees, bleeding orange across the sky. I sat there for a while, breathing deep. Not bitter, not angry, not waiting for anyone to call or explain or apologize. Just still. Just here. Because at the end of it all, real family's not who you keep bailing out. It's who shows up without asking you to prove your worth.